In this video, I want to look at the functions input and display. Alright, so we want to interact more with our user, and the function to do that is input. So we look at the help menu for input. Input prompts for user input. Right, so num equals input of prompt. So let's start with this one. So num is equal to input of prompt, and now prompt here is a string, and so what is your age? So we've got a string as a prompt, and what input does is it will ask this question, and what the user types in will be stored into num. So we press enter. What is your age? 26. So I press enter on that, and num equals 26, and we can see in our workspace that num takes the value of 26. So let's say we want to put this into a script. So num is equal to input of what is your age. So we can save this script, and I'm just going to save it as screencast. And this little warning here is just telling me that I'm not suppressing the output, so we can see exactly what happens when this runs. And my editor, click run. What is my age? 26, and num equals 26. Right, so input is a way that we can easily get an input. Now, let's say name is equal to input of what is your name? Question mark. Right, so save that and run it. What is my age? 6. What is my name? Nick. And we get an error, which is exactly what I was expecting. Alright, so our error is error using input undefined function or variable Nick. Okay, so what actually happens here is that if we don't give it a number, it's expecting a variable or a function there instead, not the string of my name. So instead we can give it a string, and to make a string we put it around apostrophes, so Nick. And we don't have an error. Now, this is a fairly clumsy way to get a user to put a string in. And if we go back to our help for input, we can see in this area str equals input prompt, and then this little string of s here. And what happens is this returns the entered text as a MATLAB string without evaluating expressions. So what that means is that it will automatically convert whatever the input is to a string. Right, so we've changed that in our script. We'll run it again. 26, and now this time I can just type my name, Nick. Okay, and that's all working. So this is the input function. Now, just to make it a little bit neater, I'll put spaces here. So one more time, now we've got a space before the input, 26, and Nick. So that's all well and good to just regurgitate whatever we type in. But I'm going to suppress these outputs now. So that gets rid of those warnings there. And now let's actually write a string of what we're doing. So previously people have been using disp, so display your age is going to be whatever value we put in. So disp num, and disp your name is this. So disp name. Okay, so now we actually now have some formatting on what gets returned to us. So we run this again, 26, and yeah. Alright, so my age is 26, my name is Nick. Now, here, it's looking a little bit clumsy because we want this to be, say, one sentence. And what we need to do is start adding strings together. Okay? So instead of using multiple disps, let's actually put this value inside of here. Okay? So the way that MATLAB handles strings is that they're just arrays of characters. Right? So what we can do is add two arrays together, and this process is called concatenation. Now, we did a little bit of concatenating in Excel where I introduced the idea, but we're going to do a little bit more formally here. So my age is none. Alright, so let's do this. Now, I know that this isn't going to do exactly what we think it is, but I want to see what the output is first. So let's run this. Now, what is my age? 26. What is my name? Nick. My age is blank. That looks strange. Now, what this actually is that characters are represented by numbers in the system, actually. It's something called the ASCII table. And since everything is stored as a number on a computer, it's just a translation from the number into the character. Now, MATLAB thinks that the value here is just a reference into this ASCII table. So I'm going to run my function again, or run my script again. What is my age? And I'm going to set it to 49. It's a bit older than I am, but I want to see what the result is. My age is 1. Okay, so what we can actually tell from this is that 49 in the ASCII table is the number 1. Alright? So if you wanted to Google search the ASCII table, you can, and you can see what all of these different values are. But what we want to do for our script is convert this num into the character representation for it. So there's a function to do that, and it's called num to string. Alright, so it's number to a string. So let's look at the help function for that. So help num to string. And converts matrix X into a string representation T with about 4 digits and an exponent if required. This is useful for plotting table, that sort of stuff. So basically all it does is takes the number and gets the character representation of that. So if we do num to string of 26, it returns 26 as a string. So if we look in our workspace here, it might be hard to see in this video, but the value is surrounded in quotation marks, whereas this number is actually a number. So let's use num to string in our previous example. So num to string of num, and this should now work. So when we run this, what is my age? 26. What is my name? My age is 26, which is fine. Let's add something onto this. Your name is Nick. I don't want to say Nick, I want to say whatever the variable is. Right, so name. Now we don't have to convert name here because it's already going to be a string. Right, so on this one, what is my age? 26. What is my name? Nick. Your age is 26. My name is Nick. Right, so that's how we can use disp and input to interact with whoever's using our scripts or our programs. Right. So now you need to remember that concatenation is something you actually have to do to put multiple strings together to make it look nicer. Right. Now, one thing that you have to be aware of is that when you're putting multiple strings together, you have to be careful. Now, they have to obey all the same rules for an array, and that means they must be rectangular. So you can't actually do something like this. So A is equal to string, and on top of that, struct. So this is going to cause an error, and it says dimensions of matrices being concatenated are not consistent, because there's 3 characters in the first, 4 characters in the second. So just keep that in mind.